Welcome back. Tired Andy here. Today, I'm going to be going over Seth's secondary video about Pump It Up discussion. He first talked about skill titles. I already talked about it. That was a pretty cool video. And he made another one being about why he doesn't compete in tournaments. I'm assuming it's already information I kind of knew from what he past talked about when he was retiring. There probably is more new information now considering it's Phoenix and all that. That video is 53 minutes long, and honestly, I don't think it's something I'll probably talk about per se, because it seems a little bit more personal to him. Maybe it might be general, but I'm not going to be going over it. The one I wanted to talk about in specific, because there was a follow-up comment on this, his first video, about how he'll like the second video, is the psychological problem for Pump It Up players. Passion does not equal obsession. So let's just check it out. As I mentioned, I'm a little tired right now. It is midnight, and it was a kind of a long day, so yeah.
All right, guys. Welcome back. We got another video coming at you this time with the psychological effects from Pump It Up. This is actually something that I've been more and more passionate about as time has gone on, as I've gotten older, and with all the things that I've dealt with in my personal life over the last couple of years. I've started to heavily prioritize my mental health, and I'm here today to talk to you about.
I wonder if this is the same day as the previous one.
Effects that can come out from Pump It Up, or you could really apply this to literally anything. I mean, if you want to just stick to the genre, you could just say for all rhythm games, it's very, very important. And you can apply it to all of them. Before I get into it, I do want to say thank you guys for all the positive feedback that you gave on the last video.
Yeah, there was a lot,
and
that's great.
Discussion format type of content. It makes me really happy that you guys are enjoying that, and this is the second one now. I did write down a couple of bullet points that I have just right in front of me, just so I don't forget any.
I think that's very good that he talks about that, because sometimes when you ramble, like for me at least as well, is like there's things that you might forget about, or like key things that like, I don't know, you might lose a little bit of off topic. So I think discussion things are important with like a little bit of like loose guidelines, so you can kind of follow them and refer back to, but also have some freeform flexibility.
This is a topic that I've never honestly heard anybody ever talk about. And again, this is purely being made just straight from passion, honestly.
Okay.
There's obviously, there's no major revenue or anything like that that's going to be earned from this type of video. And even just with rhythm games as a whole, they're so niche. So there's really no drive or reason to really push out content under that aspect and that mentality of trying to profit from it.
That's pretty true. Like rhythm game content is generally small, unless if you're like a really, really popular game. Like I think like major content creators, when I think of rhythm games that can probably make a living off of it, would be like OSU streamers. But aside from it, like arcade players in rhythm games, it's practically, I don't think it's a very viable way. So most of the time, it generally comes from passion. So yeah, if you're gonna try go off of it, you kind of can't.
It's a straight passion.
Yeah.
Again, as I've gotten older,
it's
mainly
passion.
Wanting to make this more and more and more. So I'm glad I'm finally getting around to it. But I also again have to thank you guys, because it really motivated me to do it. So. Without any further ado, let's just jump right into it. So, what are some psychological effects that can happen from playing Pump It Up? Well, this, again, is going to apply to very specific people that fit certain criterias. And, again, I need to make this clear, too, as a disclaimer. I'm not a professional. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. So keep that in mind. Obviously, I'm just a dance gamer with some opinions. So, again, these are just my opinions. And it's things that I've noticed within myself in the past, and currently other players that I've seen, too. It's as I've gotten older, I've started to notice like all the red flags and signs of it existing within other people. And it's really sad and unfortunate to see. And I'm going to get distracted here. So let's just jump right into it, and then we'll talk about why this matters near the end of the video. So the first thing that is a very big concern for somebody is if your entire identity is Pump It Up. That's literally it. There's nothing else you care to talk about. There's nothing you care to think about outside of that. majority of your identity as a human being is the game. That would mean when you're hanging out with people, 99% of the time, you're talking about Pump It Up. You're thinking about Pump It Up. When you're with your significant other, you're thinking about Pump It Up. When you're going on a walk, you're thinking about Pump It Up. When you're at work, you're thinking about Pump It Up.
Wow, yeah.
When you're talking to other friends or groups,
That's straight up
you're
addiction.
thinking about Pump It Up or
That's
talking about
yeah,
Pump It Up. It's one of the two or both. Thinking or talking about the game. Majority of your life. Obviously, that's a huge concern, but again, there's a lot of people that don't realize it, including myself. When, again, I was younger, it wasn't Pump It Up. Primarily, it used to be In the Groove. When I was growing up with that game, I had a huge obsession with it. I thought it was passion, and I guess you could argue some of it was passion.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the other point I want to bring up, actually, was the passion and drive, determination, whatever you want to call it, motivation. That turns into obsession.
It could also be blindsided, where it's like your love can be dictated by like external factors as well, as we talked about, like validation, like things that are like fueled not just by the game but also external factors that are besides the game. And also just like I've also dealt with this myself. I think when I was going to like my first semester of college, I kind of had a little bit of identity crisis of like who I was. Originally, I used to like think like, I used to just be like kind of like a gamer more or less, and that was like just kind of like everything of who I was. Pump It Up really allowed me to grow, but I still kind of had that new transition where it's like, oh, wait, I'm playing Pump It Up now. All I did was technically just change games of interest. So, yeah, I definitely relay and understand what he's talking about here.
Another really big concern that can have a lot of psychological effects on you as a person, when you don't understand the differences and know how to distinguish the two, or you could even, whether it starts out as passion and drive and motivation first, and it slowly evolves into obsession, or it's just right off the bat starts with obsession and doesn't ever turn into passion or drive. That's the primary thing, is just pure obsession. That, again, goes hand in hand with everything here. I mean, it all comes down to obsessed. I feel like a lot of people really need to hear this. This is, again, why I'm making this video. And if you're one of those people that's struggling with these kind of things,
I would also like to add here, if Pump It Up was your first type of thing, like your first type of obsession, I feel like it's a lot more prone, like for any type of like first like obsession. I got to grow up playing a lot of like PC games prior to this. Like the main three I would just constantly daily drive, and alternate would be Minecraft, OC, and Geometry Dash. I was somewhat pretty active in communities. I spent a lot of time into them. And so I feel like with that being said, I might be a little bit biased when I came into Pump It Up, because I know for those games in particular, it was a form of escapism. It was very toxic. I spent a lot of time and I got really nothing out of it, versus Pump It Up where it became a lot more healthier. Maybe something still translated / lingered on, but I was able to adapt and change overall like my philosophy and thinking about it. That's why for me, like when he talked about in his previous video, which again I talked about last time, it's like, it's not just about like validation, and it's not about external factors.
It's okay to have those flaws. You're a human being. Again, I've had these issues too in the past, and it took unfortunately longer than I'd like. It unfortunately took longer than it needed to for me to realize that I had that problem, and I had to do a lot of self-improvement and get professional help. And I think it's sad because it's a very big, what's the word? I think stigma is the word I'm looking for, like mental health, especially like NA. I'm sure in plenty of other places in the world too, where it's just like very frowned upon, and like, especially and men's mental health is like a very big one where.
I would say I should have not put these gummy bears in my mouth. Sorry. I don't know. My mom says eating magnesium pills is good for you. It's good for your muscles, nerves, and calming support. I don't know. These just taste good. Wait, what was he talking about again? Dude, my ADHD is firing up. Holy shit.
Well,
NA mental health. He's talking about NA being North America. I would honestly like to argue that it's a lot better here in like the NA versus some places like Asia, where it's like, it's definitely frowned upon there. And Mental health? Oh, that doesn't exist, or like you just got to look past it. I think in NA nowadays it's like a lot more professional like awareness and like mental health stuff has been developed. Where he's talking about men's stuff, yeah, that's definitely more kind of there. You know, you have to suck it up. You're a man. But when it comes to the NA stuff, sure, it might not be perfect, but I think it's a lot better than other regions in the world.
Especially, and men's mental health is like a very big one where I noticed that it's very heavily frowned upon and gets a lot of cultures in different places. People will cast judgment on everybody, but primarily I've noticed in men because of the whole, mentality of, men don't cry, quote unquote. Strong men
bullshit
don't show emotion, things like that.
Fuck
all those
that.
kind of toxic tropes that are just very outdated and need to go, honestly. But passion and drive becoming obsession. That's another thing that's really concerning. The next one would be somebody that is dealing with a lot of obsession is going to be wanting constant validation. This could be, again, online.
I already talked about this.
Social media platforms, Discord and Facebook groups or Messenger.
A terrible feed.
Instagram.
I used to do also leaderboard farming. That's why I stopped mainly.
Their achievements or videos. And it's okay to do all that. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm doing it. The difference and the line that you need to be careful to not cross is where basically you have to ask yourself, why are you posting what you're posting? What is the reason behind it?
For me, it's because I like to share my clips.
You're constantly seeking validation, and so therefore that's your drive and motive to not just post but play the game. Like, you're seeking that validation from strangers on the internet or peers or friendly rivalries that you have with random people or people IRL or whatever have you. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. If the core reason is you want validation, that's obviously a problem. That's a concern. It's like I brought this up in the last video, talking about the title grinding and stuff like that, and it's very, very important. If you're seeking that validation from people, you're never going to be satisfied. Those people will never be satisfied either. You could literally get a perfect score on a level 25 double, and people will not be satisfied. And I'm speaking from firsthand experience. When I got Dark Side of the Mind D25, I randomly went on Facebook, and it loads in. First thing I see is somebody posted, it was some random Pump It Up group on Facebook. They posted my video of Dark Side of the Mind D25 PG, and there was probably, I want to say, around 100 comments or so, 120, right around there. And I'm going in there, and it's in Spanish, but Facebook has a feature where you can translate, and most of it was just negative comments. Negative comments from toxic people saying toxic things, and there were people defending and arguing against those people, but more so is people just being really toxic and negative. And think about that. Perfecting a level 25, and there's people that will not be satisfied and will critique and point the finger at play the whataboutism and say, well, this and that, or XYZ, they only got that because it's on his machine or private machine. He's only good on his machine, right? He doesn't enter tournaments or blah, 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 blah. It's just, when that happens, you have to get off the internet. Like, for your own mental health, this is something, again, that I really struggle with. And admittedly, I still have an issue with it at times where if I see those kind of comments, it can get to me. It can make me upset. I'll have days where, my mental game is not as strong, and it'll bum me out, make me feel pretty crappy. But the difference between my old self and current self is that I will catch it. I'll catch myself doing that, and then can set myself back straight and get on the proper road, the mental road to go move forward, and not dwell on it, and not let other people's opinions determine my value and tell me who I am factually. Right? That's no one else's position but yourself.
It wasn't about the validations. I think it's for me it was like opinions. I remember Byte 6. It was like my very first Pump It Up convention, and I was really excited, but I was also really nervous. And by the end of the whole experience for me, I think this is my first time also talking about this publicly. I spoke about this with Jay a little bit about this, but I was really stressed out the entire time because there was a lot of pressure, because like I think the more higher you are, like I don't know, in like this kind of like you know, like social media, like followers and stuff like that. I'm not saying like I'm a huge content creator, but at the time when I was very active on Pundy, just making a lot of like NA/Pump It Up content, people kind of knew me for that reason. So it felt like there was a lot more eyes and pressure on me, and I think most people, like when they post scores, it'll probably be like fine, or just like looking like seeking for validation. But the more higher you go, people look at the more successful people, and it's just easier to criticize them because they're at the very top, you know. That being said, when I did commentating for my very first time, I admittingly wasn't the most experienced player. I was breaking into like 20s or something like that. So at the certain point when it was like high level, like really high level, like maybe 22, 23 onwards, where I just didn't know what was happening. Yeah, I just really didn't know much what to comment about. I would just say like pretty just general, like useless kind of stuff. And I remember afterwards just being really criticized about it. And that hurt me. That hurt me because for me, I really wanted to provide my best. And even though at the time I wasn't able to really necessarily provide like the more, I don't know, technical definitions that like other commentators would be able to provide, I really wanted to at least provide like a hype element to it. I don't know if you guys watch Super Smash Bros. Melee, but at least old commentators, they just spoke whatever was happening. So if it was just like as unprofessional it is sometimes, I don't know, scream or let it loose, you know, that's what I did. So I wouldn't, in this case, that was my Bite 6 example is not about validation. It's about how other people's like feelings could just hurt you. This could be dance games. This can just be in real life in general. And you need to be able to develop ways to cope with that, or just ignore them. Or Seth says, leave the internet. I would just say, you know, you got to find a way to just, these people are not going to, like, these people are not the people that you love or trust. These are just people that are not necessarily like really a part of your lives. Obviously, that's not fully true if it's like maybe like a toxic work environment, but hopefully you're trying to get the general gist of what I'm trying to say.
Or people that are very close to you, right? People you consider very close friends and or family. But I'm bringing that example up to show you and like let you guys know that if you're going to be seeking validation from people like that through Pump It Up, with your scores and videos of great scores or whatever, it literally doesn't matter how good it is. There will always be somebody that will be unsatisfied, and you will see it. The more you're online like that, the more you will see it, and the better you get, the louder they will get. So
yep.
I really think that was one of the bigger points to bring up here and examples to show you. I got plenty of other ones.
You
too.
become idolized, and there's more, like, you know, more expectations. It's just like being a celebrity.
As of now, there's literally me and
Fems.
2 other players that have done that ever.
Fems recently
and
got
it's
it.
still not enough. Think about that. Another trait that can come with this being a concern is when you have a lot of insecurities. Insecurities can obviously stem from other aspects in your life, right? I used to be a very insecure person, too, about my physical appearance, believe it or not. Throughout most of my teen years and my early 20s, I had a lot of insecurity. And I think it's okay to have insecurity. Don't get me wrong. Again, we're all human beings. Everybody's flawed. Everybody has their issues, right? I think the most important thing to mention, though, is acknowledge the flaws that you have and be aware of them. That's the first step.
Yep.
And then take the next step, which a lot of people don't do, is if you really feel like it's needed to, you can't do it on your own, you can't improve on your own, get professional help. There's nothing wrong with that.
I would like to add, for my personal sake, like, just like my personal example, ever since I came to college, I've been taking counseling. For me, it was, at least in like the NA, dude, high school and middle school counseling is like, I don't want to like immediately say something that's like might get me in trouble, but basically you can trust a counselor in college because a lot of the information is confidential. There might be some things that might be a slight gray area. Obviously, you have to make sure it's like, you know, but mostly like even like my most darkest moments or my darkest thoughts or things that I would not ever think about remotely saying to like a high school counselor. It was just super helpful for me at least. I met like the perfect counselor for me where it was like, you know, it was just really chill. I would talk to them. I would talk to them about like my concerns or just develop. She would it didn't just feel like a counselor per se. It was someone who would listen to me, keep me accountable, things that I would be able to learn and lessons for myself, and also like develop that and just kind of see how I've grown as a person since like my freshman year to like sophomore year. I've been able to just like, I don't know, just counseling's great. If you can get counseling, I think it's something that I never like. I used to never trust it. I thought it was bullshit. But the more I actually realized it, it's like, wait, this person is someone who's like technically not a friend or not like a family member. They can't technically be biased. Or at least my counselor is the case. They're just giving me something that's like definitively what their opinion is, their professional opinion is. I think prior, I have a other mentor. Fuck it, I'll mention it. Monte. Shout out to Monte. Monte, great dude. He first of all he introduced me to Pump It Up. We created Pump It Up together, and I still regularly rely on him to like. I was talking to him a lot during like my mental struggles. I think the problem between a friend versus like a counselor setting is that it's not necessarily a problem, but just like different like I guess like personalities. Monte is very he's very direct. He's not gonna bullshit anything towards my face. He's not gonna lie about it. If you're not ready to necessarily accept those things right away, because like since he spoke like the brutally honest truth to me, sometimes it would hurt because it would be like the full like honest truths or like flaws about myself like right there and there. Versus counseling where it was kind of like a developing, I would see it, or I would see it more positively. With the other hand, it was the truth, and that kind of just continued to make me kind of down. Versus counseling where I think it slowly helps me improve. Versus the other where it gave me definitions. It helped me to a certain extent. But it wasn't necessarily positive for me. I'm someone who kind of gets down. So I sometimes need reformation for like my accomplishments or just like things like that, if that makes sense.
Now, I know it's easier said than done for a lot of people because finances are a big issue too.
Health insurance is expensive.
But very, very insecure. That is a big one. An example for being like restricted to the topic of pump it
I
up.
still feel that, man.
I mean, I can give a couple of examples. You can have somebody picture this. You're in a group setting, whether it's an arcade or private home. You're playing Pump It Up, and let's just use you as the example. You're an insecure person on the game, and you're playing, and you don't do as good as you want on a particular song. And after the song, you make a comment of Discord notification. I don't know if you guys heard that. Sorry.
I did.
You don't perform as well as
you know what the ping was to join Pump United.
I
can't believe I did that plug.
And you just feel the need to make this comment that stems ultimately from being insecure of like, oh man, my brain's just not working, or it's very hard to explain this. I am so sorry if you guys hear that Discord notification. I need to turn that off. Sorry.
Pump United.
Hold on. There we go. It's really hard to explain this through a video, honestly, because like I feel like some of these you're gonna hear and be like, that doesn't sound bad, but it's a very specific way of saying it in a very specific tone. The older you get, or just the more mature you get, you can pick up on it, and that's what's been happening with me. Is I've been picking up on it with other people I've seen where they're playing. That's one example of this particular thing. Someone's playing a song and they just have to make a comment because they didn't get a PG or they didn't get a UG or whatever. They got a miss or they broke combo, and they just always have to make a comment about it. Like, oh, I'm just not on my A game, and over and over and over and over again. It's like after every single song. There's just never enough. Or like another example would be you get a bad score, or you just, not even necessarily a bad score, you just don't get a score you want, and you say, yeah, I can get that. I can get a double S plus on that. I can get a triple S plus on that. And you like awkwardly laugh kind of thing, like afterwards. Like these are examples of things that I've heard through other players, and it's like, it's again one thing if you say that like one time, but it's like if no one's saying anything and you feel the need to fill that empty air with like a very clearly insecure comment, it's not good for your mental, and that can take a toll on you in the long run.
I think there's a level of truth to this. I think like if you're like maybe like someone who's like, I don't know, like someone who speaks like very highly of yourself, or like someone who's like seeking like high expectations of yourself, like perfectionism. I think like for me at least, like back in like my older pump plays, like I used to feel like definitely extra pressured. Or it's like, oh, if I can't meet this certain goal, like I would really bash myself against the wall. I think with that being said, though, I don't necessarily think like, oh, if you can't like, so I like to score pretty well on like lower difficulties. And when I'm saying lower difficulties, for context, I'm advanced 9, I'm breaking to 22, 23s. I try to aim from like 18 through 20, 18 through 20s, at least an S. And like if I can't get it, then like I will like technically criticize myself. There's a difference between lightly criticizing yourself or just completely beating yourself down for it. And I think that's kind of what Seth's talking about, where it's like the person would almost seem kind of depressed, just mocking themselves. So I think for people who do, and I think I'm also kind of in this boat where, you know, I'm a yapper. I like to talk. I like to complain. I like to change 1 + 1 - 1 AV and all that shit. Just if you're a person who does take it like pretty harshly and like beat yourself down for it, even some of my 22 scores, I think I have like the Reverie S plus D22, and for me it's like, oh, that score is like ruined because I shit the bed at the ending. You gotta be nicer to yourself. Be nicer to yourself, and you know, just treat it as more like as a general comment. Keep it as a thought. Don't make it a toxic thought. Comment slash thought, toxic thought. 2 different things.
There's plenty of other things that I can bring up as examples too, but off the top of my head, those were the biggest concerns that could be the biggest traits that you can see in somebody that can be very concerning for their psychological, the psychological effects that can have on you, not just in pump, but more importantly, in your whole life. And I'm bringing this up. The
pressure, never feeling satisfied, all those things just kind of manifesting into like just kind of digging into your ideology more or less. Yeah, I get
not
it.
Just to tell you, hey, go work on this. If you're struggling with any of these things, you know, if you feel, you know, insecure with your skill in the game, if you feel like you're constantly seeking validation from people online by posting scores, like that's your main drive, that's your reason, that's your motive to play the game, to get better, is because you want to impress other people or get that validation. You're always going to be chasing after that high, and it'll never be enough.
Honestly, I think for me, I recently realized that with like content creation, not just like I think with like pump, like yeah, I think a lot of people like seek validation to like a certain extent. To fully chase for it, I don't think is a good thing. I think chasing it a little bit can be a motivating factor. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the sole factor should be from you, the base game in you. That's your base relationship, right? However, I think with content creation, I've been doing content creation for like practically like 9 years at this point, right? I still have this problem with like subscribers, views, and stuff like that, right? I think it was until Pundy recently, when I hit 1,000 subscribers for that, it really was a huge milestone, because for me, I've been content creating for so long, and a part of it was like, money. I can't wait to make my pennies. As soon as I got my channel got like flagged because it reused content because it was like compilations and stuff like that. Even though there are literally entire channels that do it with millions of subscribers and completely are fine about it, talking about like fail army and stuff like that, which is whatever. It's unfair, and that's just, I mean, YouTube's been like that since Logan Paul or Jake Paul or whatever, the whole act populist and whatever. That was the turning point for me, at least when it came to like validation. Purely on a YouTube standpoint, because that was like for me like the biggest form of validation. I think validation can come in different forms as well, not just pump it up, but also just in real life. Yeah, it made me realize that, oh, none of this really matters, and that I will have people surrounding me that will just support me. Doesn't really matter the number, but I'm pretty sure I'll always have like one person around me. And you know what? If you can have one sole person to just push you, and I think that should be enough. Just like pump it up, there can just be one sole reason for you to push into game. It's just you in the game.
And again, you're going to drive yourself crazy. You will drive yourself crazy if you constantly do this.
Yeah, I did really kind of go crazy during the time. I was really obsessed, I think. Wow, this actually really connects back because I made the world portrayed by Pump It Up videos. The first one went well. I saw the views. I was like, oh, I want to do more of this. The second one went well, but I got a lot of criticism because I made a lot of mistakes in the video. And then that really hurt my feelings. Stuff like that. So, again, this is interesting because it's like two different perspectives. One is more or less about Pump It Up. Mine is like about the content creation side. And also just kind of goes along with Pump It Up as well. Though.
And I got to give credit. There was I'm sorry whoever it was that made the comment, but they made a comment that I'm paraphrasing here, but they said something along the line of, there's people that play this game that they clench it, they grasp onto it so tightly because they found success in the game, right? You could be a really talented player and they're very gifted, but they're doing this because they lack the success
in real life,
satisfaction, in all these other areas in their life. It could be one thing.
This is exactly the idea of escapism. This is not just Pump It Up. This could be any type of skill in life, or like game in life, or interest. Technically, if you can make it a career, at least.
It could be multiple things. It could be everything. I mean, everybody's different, but because they found success in getting better at this game, they clench onto it, and that
becomes their identity. That becomes obsession.
They make it their entire identity.
Sorry, I'm yapping over Seth.
Only thing that
I'm getting really into this.
Like their value, like that's their value within themselves, and they want other people to validate them because of how they feel about it. Hopefully, I said that well. Sorry, I'm so not used to making content like this. Either it's so abnormal to me.
You're doing well, Seth. I agree with everything you've said practically.
And like looking over and like seeing like chat, interacting with chat live on my main channel. But anyway, I wanted to bring attention to this, and the last thing I wanted to mention too was why does this all matter, right? Well, hopefully
it definitely does matter.
Why this matters. It's really important because it affects your mental health, which can affect you severely in your personal life.
Your personal life and your gaming,
family, friends,
everything. It's just beyond just Pump It Up in games.
Just in your life in general. You know, when you're alone too, like it's gonna affect your mental, and you should always prioritize your mental health. Not just to get better at a video game, right? Because that's one aspect to it. Is if you take care of your mental health, right? And there's a whole lot of other things that go in with improving and taking care of your mental health. But on the topic of this, where
it'll also make your sessions better
and seeking that validation and all those things we talked about. If you work on those things,
I think both of these videos he's made go hand in hand
on your own, or hopefully through professional help if you're able to get access to that. I strongly suggest it.
Friends can help, but they're not always the most reliable / not always the most available. This is why I think a counselor can be helpful, but understandably, it's not always available for everyone too. But try to seek resources if you can. I genuinely mean it. If you first had like a bad hand of counseling or you're hesitant, try it. If it doesn't work out, try to seek for someone else. You might not find the right person right away. I was fortunate enough to find the right person right away, and for me, I've been going with them like 2.5 years strong, and I'm going to be continuing counseling probably till I keep going on. But like overall now, it's like I used to be a lot more dependent on it, but now it's like as I've healed my wounds, not just from Pump It Up, but also like my past self from like other things in my personal life. I felt like I needed to go less. Like these past few months, I've been just feeling a lot better, being a lot more hopeful. And it's something that won't come overnight, but it's something that you got to just be proactive in. So alongside counseling, you can journal, see your self progress. I look at my journal from the past like semester. I was fucking depressed. I really was. And now I can say, hey, I have some off days, but you know, I can have some depressed periods, but at least I'm overall like a lot happier, and I see purpose in life.
Will really go a long way, and you'll notice an improvement in your gameplay in the long run if you start to prioritize that and take care of that. But again,
it's more passive, I would say. Actually, it can be passive and active. It might be some invisible things, but some also present things.
and much more importantly, right? Because at the end of the day, this is just a video game, right? It's way more important for you to prioritize taking care of your mental health for your life in general, outside of the video game. Sadly, again, there are people that will probably just prioritize this after this video and think like they just won't get it. They'll think, oh, if I take care of my mental health, I'll get better at pump, and like that's the only reason, right? It's like it's okay to have that be a reason, but that again, that shouldn't be the core reason.
No, that should not be at all.
Take care of their mental health.
Mental health first, and then pump is secondary.
Mature, be more healthy in the mental side of things, and that'll go a long way in your life. And then if you're not finding success,
I think it's overarching, like also like a lot of like at least dance game players, at least actually I'm gonna stop what I'm saying. I don't know.
Right, in life outside of a video game.
This is just a useful video for anyone.
Mental health can actually turn into finding success for whatever micro goals or big goals that you have in your personal life outside of pump. But again, wanted to bring this up because it does tie in on the topic of pump it up in the game of like people always asking me how do I get better. I started to recently implement this into the conversation and trying to read people that if I don't know them personally, try to get a feel for them and understand if they have any of these symptoms and like let them know like hey man, I'm telling you,
mental health is so important.
Care and love from this, and not trying to
it's
scold you or judge you, right? Because everybody's human.
I'm actually starting to realize there's actually, if you try to categorize what makes pump it up difficult, I actually think it's now 3 things: the physical. Okay, maybe I should not use the middle finger per se. Yeah, you have the physical, the reading, and then the mental. I also think in the mental side, this is not necessarily towards toxic negativity. Actually, it can be. But like I would notice like for myself, like there's clips of myself like here. All right, I want you to watch this clip of me playing Star Dream D22. Everything looks alright, right? I'm recovering my overflow, and what the hell happened? I would like to sum up this clip as a time where I just naturally have a little bit of anxiety. I've kind of noticed this with my play again. If I'm not fully warmed, etc. But also just me kind of giving up on myself. It's something that I've tried to kind of like improve on. Just trying to, again, try to just be more positive towards myself and think like less toxic towards myself, right? This right here is a prime example of just it's not necessarily like escapism, but it's very, again, that's just showing toxic mentality there. And again, in a case where you need to push and pump it up, especially when you want to try get stage passes on things that you're trying to push out of your comfort zone, you need to be able to control your emotions. It's very interesting looking back at my messages though. Like I have a lot of things when it comes to like just feeling like kind of stressed. Some of it could be my body, some of it could just be me not like warming up, but it's just something, to keep in mind of. I'm not sure if I'm the only player who experiences things like this. But if you're not maybe some people are just play the game. Some people are not emotional. I think I'm definitely someone who's a little bit of an emotional player. It's just some things to keep in mind of. How that emotional sense can like push you, can negatively impact you, things like that.
Everybody's got their flaws, and that's okay. But point it out to them and try to give them advice and show examples, right? And then,
oh my god, I could not tell you. Ellison is practically my pump it up. He's a really close friend of mine, right? And he also just like Really close friend of mine. We spent a lot of time together. I'm sure he could explain my journey as well, especially when we first met and started like kind of hanging out at Maryland. Oh my god. Just like, again, my first year in college, and then when I met him, I was so hard on myself. I was so down playing 19s and 20s and not really knowing. And that just shows to show, like, it might have not just been my form. Because as I mentioned in my Pump It Up philosophy videos, hit the notes. Some people can just have the physical capabilities of just pushing themselves and not necessarily need form. I was so focused on form, and I was also so hard on myself and so down and so desperate that I probably didn't realize it just at the time, but just, dude, there was so much emotional debuff there.
And give them advice, and people have been really thankful and appreciative of it because they never realized it. I never realized it when I had that issue growing up. It wasn't even that long ago. I said it originally, it primarily was in The Groove, but it did bleed into Pump It Up several years ago when I was first getting into it, and I had to catch it. I had close ones tell me, and I just never realized it because I was so emotionally immature back then. Thankfully now I've been aware of it, and now I start to implement this when people ask me, how do I get better at this game? I'll tell them, a lot of people talk about, X, Y, and Z.
I think the best analogy that really broke out of my shell too was, I remember Monte told me this. This is the peak of some, let's just say, server drama that I thought it was really significant. And I was also like at the probably peak of my insecurities as well. And I'm obviously, I still have my insecurities here. I remember he told me, like, you are so sheltered, like, under belief. That hurt me. But during that time, it made me take a complete break from Discord. During that time, that's where I really seeked journaling. And that's where my mental game started improving. To just get away from the internet. And really push both ADHD meds and also philosophy. That shit changed me. I'm not saying you have to do the same thing, but I'm saying, like, if you can't really get out of, like, your habits, if you're maybe, like, addicted or you're hooked on social media or, like, games or just, like, toxic things that might be fueling this, to go completely off the radar, to really, really rethink your life and, like, what you're doing. Because, again, what you're doing day to day in your life is pretty much your actions of what you want to do. Like, I mean, things you want to technically do in your life, if what you're doing on a daily basis does not add up to that, then you're not really going to reach those. If that makes sense. So, yeah.
Within the game, right? Oh, just work on brackets, work on foot switches, work on foot speed, work on twists, and do this and that. All these things within the game, right? But no one ever talks about outside of the game. And not, again, going back to my point before.
I might have at one point.
Working on your mental health is...
Actually, no, I don't think I've talked about mental health. Again, I know I have my own Pump It Up philosophy channel. The problem is I have too many ideas, and with ADHD, I can't focus on just picking one damn idea. So I might make my own philosophy video about the mental side too, because as I mentioned, some ideas I relate with Seth, but I also had my own personal experiences as well. So yeah, I might make that in the future as well. So yeah, I really need to get back on that series. Holy shit, I have too many. I'm too scattered.
Obviously a great thing to do, but again, you shouldn't do it just to get better at the game. But if we're gonna be on that topic, with that said, it's really it's just a topic that no one talks about. No one talks about it and thinks, like, if you want to go outside of the stuff we talked about with, seeking validation constantly, insecurity, obsession, like, put those things aside, right? Some other thing, I feel like I need to make another video on this stuff too, which I probably will in the future if people keep giving positive feedback on this type of format of content. What was I getting at? I'm sorry. Well, to dabble in a little bit of the topics of, the mental health side of things outside of what we discussed on this video, just to lightly touch on it, I would say, sleep schedule is really important. Your diet is really important. That's more of physique and physical health. But at the same time, eating poorly can affect your mental. Then again, staying hydrated, drink water, guys. That's coming from someone who had a kidney stone and a really bad one at that. Et cetera, et cetera. Like, again, I don't want to get too deep into the branching out to those kind of mental health topics. I'll make another video for that, but it actually plays quite an important role into getting better.
I would say the main one, in my personal opinion, would probably be a consistent sleep schedule, but that's more of like a mental health thing. So I just realized I stopped the video at the worst frame ever. There's like a thing called like midnight like procrastination, where it's like you try to like I'm not gonna edit this video, but it's like people will like doom scroll to like avoid going to bed. That's actually become a thing, so just keep in mind of that if you want to just focus on. That's like the main overarching concept. I feel like that comes with doom scrolling that you can possibly apply to your life. Just keep that in mind.
I mentioned that I've gone through quite a bit of stuff in my personal life in the last couple of years, and it severely affected my mental health. And thankfully, I was able to get professional help, and it went a long ways. And funny enough, when I started to acknowledge prioritizing my mental health and physical health, I cannot stress how much of a drastic change I saw in my performance and pump, just naturally. It wasn't even my goal of like, oh, let me go do this. With my mental health,
side effect that happens.
Take care of my mental health, and then I'll be really good at this pump it up dance simulation game, right? That's not what I'm getting at. It naturally came with my intention of getting my mental health better and physical health. Alongside with that, right, for my personal life and my all personal stuff, I naturally got better at the game because I was taking care of those things. I started to prioritize those things. And another thing that I noticed too, funny enough, I feel like some people will raise eyebrows at me saying this, but when I stopped caring as much, because people, I say that, I make that comment because I know there's gonna be people out there like, how can you say you don't care, like you're a top-ranked player, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to articulate this. It's like I said in the last video, I care about being good at the game to some extent. It's not, however, it's not, however, how it was for me before, where that was my only goal. That's all I cared about, was I just want to be good, right? Now, nowadays, being 34 plus, for crying out loud.
He's 34?
It's more about when I go in and play. Like,
God damn, he's gonna become J-Boy soon.
Behind me playing Pump It Up nowadays, as a Phoenix, honestly, it's because I care more about my physical and mental health, and I use the game as an outlet to take care of those things, as a way to take care of those things and better myself, right, with having that hobby. So when I'm going in, that's the priority. So if I'm having a bad day, yeah, I'm going to get upset. I'll be bummed out if I'm just not playing well and I'm not getting the scores I want, like personal goals that I have or whatever have you. But I can always lean back now on, hey, at least I burned some calories. I didn't care of myself. And that also helps with not just physical health, again, mental health.
Oh, that's actually so true. Okay, if you're like, again, kind of going back to his previous video, if you're like title grinding, if you don't get any 22s, I think previously I would get like really bummed out. Now it's like, again, at least in like an arcade where I play at, there's other people, there's other games you can vibe with. You can still have a good time, There's other ways of just having. You can have successes in other ways. Like, again, as he's mentioned, like you can burn calories. You can just enjoy the music you listen to. You can play a more Fati S4 and freestyle like an idiot, but hey, you enjoyed yourself. You can get PGs, all that stuff. Don't fixate on one thing. You'll have some sessions will be good, some will be bad, but how you look at them and how the success outlines, there will always be success in different ways. You just got to change your perspective.
So I've been making that my main reason to play. It just so happens that I have the
I'm trying to speed up because it's 50 minutes long.
That makes sense. sure, I'd love to be where I'm at forever, right? But no one's going to be able to do that. It's impossible. So I think a lot of people misunderstand that, and that talk to me on a personal level. Obviously, people online don't know any of this until literally right now I'm talking about it. So I don't blame strangers online making assumptions of like, oh, he really, really wants to be good. It's like, yes, but no. It really just comes down to the mental and physical health being the priority, and less about I want to be a top player. That really is not a priority anymore. Contrary to popular belief,
I think also like it's funny because isn't Fafem's diet like entirely of like soju and like beer and stuff like that? I don't know. I just found that funny. Now I just think about that when he mentioned diet.
Understand though, again, because you just see the videos of me playing, and that's it. You don't hear me talk. But that's gonna be a wrap for this video, guys. How long did we make this one? Oh, about the same as last one. I thought it was going way longer.
I made it way longer.
If you guys have any questions or want to make any comments, regardless, please put it in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think of this video. I'm really glad I made this one because, again, it was something I've been really, really adamant about and passionate about. Just spreading awareness. Before this video was just, mouth to mouth, or person to person, word of mouth, sorry. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions or if you have any examples of things that you've noticed in your personal life or your personal, the road that you've been on with this game. Or if you just know somebody else, like, you can share stories, keep it anonymous, obviously. And, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.
Okay, honestly, I prefer this video way more than his other video. I feel like title grinding, yeah, it was a little bit relatable on some aspects, but this video was deep. This video made me feel, God, it spoke to me on a lot. And I think it will speak to players, and it may relate to some people, but it also might either relate to some people or might just give some insight about them. So, this video is already really long. Let's end it here. Shout out to Happy Feets. I'm probably not going to look at this one because that video is probably be 2 hours then. I don't own anything. This is just my perspective as a dance game player. Bye bye.